Hey Dunchbags, what's going on? It's Landon Remixes here, and it is time for my review of the debut album from Cashmere Cat. This one is called 9. My apologies once again for this taking so long. As I said in my last video, I was kind of caught in the middle of finals week, and of course I had a lot of studying to do, a lot of things to get done, and I did manage to get through finals week okay, but that's only because I took a lot of time off from making reviews, and then I had a very busy weekend trying to move out of the dorms and into the apartments, which took quite a long time, and now I'm just getting some time to do some reviews now. And just to let you guys know, the location I'm in right now is hopefully just going to be a temporary one. I do want to move my reviews into my apartment itself with the vinyl wall of fame in the background, but that's just not really a possibility at this point. But I just wanted to take this moment to thank you guys for being so patient throughout the last week. I know a week can feel like an eternity when a YouTuber typically uploads every other day or every couple days, and it's been a bit over a week since the last time I uploaded a video, so thank you guys so much for being patient throughout this. No one asked if I'm dead, so I guess that's cool. But without further ado, let's talk about this new Cashmere Cat album. Cashmere Cat is a Norwegian DJ and producer best known for his very unconventional approaches to R&B music, kind of blending vocals with these wacky yet bright electronic music elements. Also generally maintaining a pretty chill vibe, Cashmere Cat's productions can be easily identified. Cashmere Cat's rise to fame has been nothing less than monumental, with him producing for names like Ariana Grande and Kanye West. I personally started taking a lot of interest in Cashmere Cat when I realized that he had co-produced a number of the songs on Lido's Everything album, which of course was my album of the year for 2016. Even though some of the promotional singles for this album weren't absolutely fantastic, notably the Selena Gomez collaboration Trust Nobody, I was still pretty excited for this album, and I mean, in the end, Cashmere Cat doesn't disappoint. I ended up enjoying this album quite a bit, even if it's not as conceptual as I like a lot of albums to be. Generally, 9 is pretty heavily structured like a pop album with no real flow from track to track, as well as the fact that it has a ton of various features, and I mean, this lineup is absolutely stacked, featuring artists like Kehlani, Moo, The Weeknd, Ariana Grande, Ty Dolla $ign, Selena Gomez, everyone. And for the most part, these features work out very nicely. If nothing else, they at least complement Cashmere Cat's style very well, especially when it comes to Ariana Grande, who in my opinion threw down one of her best features that she's done in a long time on the track Quit. I really loved what Cashmere Cat did with Grande's vocals on this track. The vocal harmonies leading up to the kind of soft drop that it has reminds me a little bit of something Zedd would do. And that's just one of the many risks that Cashmere Cat takes on 9 with his vocalists. In my opinion, I think that Cashmere Cat was taking a big chance when he put both Kehlani and The Weeknd through vocoders on this album. Though I do think it ends up panning out quite a bit better for Kehlani on this album. I think The Weeknd's appearance on the song Wild Love is probably one of his weakest appearances that he's done in a while, especially considering his absolutely monumental work with Daft Punk on the Starboy album. But I mean, even with that, with an album like 9, you kind of can't look toward the vocalists to be the big stars on this album. This very much is an album of production. Cashmere Cat does an insanely good job at showing off his brand of production on this album, so much to the point that you can practically ignore the pop giants that are scattered throughout the track list of this thing. With 9, Cashmere Cat guides listeners through his wide array of production abilities. Even looking back into his early music, most heavily on the song Victoria's Veil, the only one without a feature on this album. And fittingly, Victoria's Veil is my favorite song that this album has to offer, mostly because it just gives a pure, raw, unfiltered look at Cashmere Cat's production abilities. It's fun, it's bright, it's unique, it's happy, and best of all, it doesn't really have any of those pop vocalists distracting from everything that it is, with the exception of that The Eagle Will Rise by the Alan Parsons Project sample that Cashmere Cat uses at the beginning and end of this song, which although seemed kind of out of place, it only served to make this album even more unique than it already was. Another personal favorite of mine on this album was its title track 9 After Coachella, featuring Moo and Sophie. I sadly haven't been able to talk about Sophie in depth on this channel, but I hope to as soon as Sophie releases another album. I was very much a big fan of his debut product, and I really do like his very unconventional approach to electronic dance music. I think Sophie and Cashmere Cat sounds collide very nicely on After Coachella, kind of combining these cutesy vocals with these really off-kilter electronic trap elements that makes for one of the most wild pop tracks I've ever heard in my life. And that's definitely not the only time on this album that Cashmere Cat takes some serious seriously unconventional approaches in his production. In fact, the outro to the album, Pulls Don't Go, which does something very, very interesting with the beat kicking off on beat 3 instead of 1. And then from there, everything just gets wackier and wackier with the drums seemingly just coming in whenever they want to. And even though this song probably technically could be classified under electronic dance music, this song would be very hard to dance to just because of the way the beats come in on this. You'll definitely have to listen to this song in full to totally understand what I'm talking about, but basically you can just describe it as very wacky. And speaking of wacky, this song, as well as a couple others toward the end of the LP, end really abruptly, making for a very interesting way to end this album. I thought that was kind of cool, kind of off-kilter. And I think this is Cashmere Cat once again reminding listeners that although he has these pop giants scattered throughout the track list of this album, he is still very much in control. He does what he wants with his music. And you know, overall, that's what makes this album great and a pretty solid debut, although it isn't as conceptual as I'd like a lot of albums to be. As a debut, 9 does everything it needs to do. One thing that I probably would have liked to see a lot more of when it came to this album was Cashmere Cat featuring a lot more producers that would have complemented his sounds really well. For example, Lido, who doesn't make a single appearance on this album. And maybe Cashmere Cat will give us more of that in future albums, but like I said, for a debut, this album basically does everything it should. For 9, I am feeling a solid 8, ironically. If you haven't listened to 9 yet, I would highly suggest you do. As always, I have the Spotify link down in the description, and if you have listened to this one, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. As always, I'm Landon Remixes. I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I'll catch you later. Peace.